It was supposed to be a wrong number. Just a misdial on a bad day. But when I stayed on the line, I didn't get scammed, I got recruited. Now I'm knee-deep in a war I never saw coming, hunting corporate ghosts, laundering empires, and men who smile while they aim at your back. I wasn't looking for purpose. But I found it. Buried in lies, blood, and one hell of a billionaire's last game. It started on a Tuesday. One of those gray, half-hearted days where the sky looks like it's been trying to rain but keeps chickening out. I'd just gotten out of a job interview that felt more like a charity rejection. My shirt clung to my back with sweat and nerves, and I was in no mood to talk to anyone. I was scrolling through my cracked phone screen, trying to call my brother. Meant to hit Trent. Hit Trevor instead. Only I didn't know a Trevor. The line clicked. Hello? Deep voice. Calm. Older. Didn't sound like anyone I knew. I blinked. Sorry, wrong number. I was about to hang up. Wait, the voice said. Not rushed. Just curious. You sound upset. I laughed a little. Yeah, well, bad day. A pause. I've had a few of those. Want to talk? Now, I know how that sounds. Creepy. Weird. But something in his tone, it wasn't pity. It wasn't sales pitch friendly either. Just interested. Like a stranger at a bar offering you a seat, not a story. So I sat on a bench across from the bus stop and said, I just got rejected for a job that pays $12 an hour. My fridge is a joke. And my landlord says one more late payment and I'm out. Silence. Then, you have any pride left? I blinked. Excuse me. I mean, are you too proud to take help from a stranger? That's when I should have hung up. But I didn't. Not because I thought I'd get something out of it, but because, for once, someone wasn't bullshitting me. I guess not. He chuckled. Good. Because life doesn't care about your pride. It cares about whether you stay standing. We talked for 20 minutes. About everything and nothing. I didn't tell him my full name. He didn't ask. He said his name was Harold. No last name. Just Harold. He told me he'd worked in a few industries. That he'd made his fortune quietly. That most people who called him never knew who they were talking to. I asked him why he stayed on the line. He said, because I like testing fate. And today, it might have dialed the right number. Next morning, I got a call. Same number. Still want a shot? Harold asked. At what? A better life. I almost laughed. Doing what? Selling knives door to door? He didn't laugh. I want you to meet me. No pitch. No scam. If you walk away, I won't chase you. But if you stay, he paused, I'll show you something that'll change how you see everything. My gut should have said no. Instead, I asked, when and where? The address Harold texted me was across town, downtown actually. Not the nice part with brunch spots and boutiques, but the old financial district where the buildings looked like they used to matter more. Stone columns, greened-out copper trim, windows that hadn't seen a Windex bottle in 20 years. I almost didn't go. But the truth was I didn't have much to lose. So I put on the cleanest shirt I had, white, no holes, and patched the hole in my sneaker with duct tape. Took the bus and walked the last 6 blocks, trying not to look like someone who lived off vending machine burritos and expired hope. The building at the address had no sign, just a brass door buzzer and a plaque that read G&H Holdings. I pressed the button. A second later, the door clicked open. Inside, it smelled like dust and lemon oil. Marble floors, faded rugs, a ticking grandfather clock near the reception desk. No one greeted me. Just a note taped to the desk. Take the elevator to the 9th floor. Knock twice. So I did. The elevator groaned on the way up like it was just as confused as me. The 9th floor hallway was quiet, eerily so. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead and every door looked abandoned except one. Glossy wood. Black trim. No nameplate. I knocked twice. It opened immediately. Harold stood there. Now, I'd imagined an old guy with wire-framed glasses and a cardigan. Maybe some leftover hippie vibes. But this man was sharp. Late 50s, maybe early 60s. Silver haircut neat. Navy suit, no tie, shirt sleeves rolled to the forearms like he didn't need a boardroom to make a decision. You showed up, he said, stepping aside. I walked in. His office was minimal. Leather chairs. A single abstract painting on the wall. Shelves lined with old books and thick folders labeled with things like carbon infrastructure and Eurasian trade flow. Nothing that made sense to me. He gestured to the seat across from his desk. I sat. You said you wanted a shot, he said. I need to know you're not just desperate. I need to know you're hungry. I blinked. Same thing, isn't it? He smiled. Desperate people burn out. Hungry people build. Then he dropped the folder in front of me. Inside, photos. Reports. Financial spreadsheets. A construction firm in Missouri. A logistics company in Nevada. A grain silo operation in Kansas. All connected. All underperforming. I need someone with no ties, he said. No paper trail. No agenda. Someone who can go in, ask questions, and not be noticed. You want me to be a spy? I asked, half joking. He didn't laugh. I want you to find out which of my companies are bleeding money and why. Some of it's theft. Some mismanagement. All of it costs me more than it should. Why me? I asked. I'm not qualified for any of this. That's exactly why you're perfect. You don't think like them. You don't speak their language. They'll underestimate you. And what do I get? He leaned back. 10,000 a week. Plus expenses. 1 month trial. If you don't find anything, you walk. No hard feelings. But if you do? He let that hang like a baited hook. I didn't even hesitate. I'm in. He slid a phone across the table. Burned black. No brand. One app installed, encrypted messaging. Next to it, a slim envelope. Plane ticket. Cash. Contacts. First stop, St. Louis. I stood, head spinning. This is real. I asked. Harold looked me dead in the eyes. More real than anything else in your life so far. I walked out of that office with more money in my pocket than I'd seen in years and a creeping sense that I just stepped off the map and into the jungle. I didn't know what I was walking into. But I knew this much. It wasn't just business. It was something deeper. Something dangerous. I landed in St. Louis just after noon the next day. Weather was humid and thick, like the city was trying to sweat something out. The airport smelled like popcorn and jet fuel. I had one carry-on, no luggage, and a manila folder with just 3 things. 1. A photo of a man named Darren Colley. 2. A sheet with numbers I didn't understand. 3. A handwritten note from Harold that said, he's been skimming. Find out how. Colley was the local manager for Mid-State Materials, one of Harold's holding companies. The kind of place that moves gravel, sand, and concrete across the Midwest. Not exactly glamorous, but Harold said money disappears where no one's paying attention. My instructions were simple. Pose as a freelance safety inspector, check the books, talk to the crew, and don't let on who sent me. I rented a dented pickup from a sketchy place near the airport. Paid cash. The clerk gave me a look like I was about to dump a body in the river. Maybe I was. The plant was on the edge of town. Dirt roads. Chain link fence. The air smelled like dust and diesel. Machines groaned in the background. Colley's office was a prefab trailer with a crooked American flag and a screen door that slammed behind me like it meant it. Inside, he was waiting. Early 40s. Greasy hair, beer gut hiding under a polo shirt 2 sizes too small. When I told him who I was, he didn't blink. Just gave me a limp handshake and a clipboard. Corporate finally given a damn, huh? Something like that, I said. For the first 2 hours, he played it straight. Walked me through the lot. Introduced me to foremen. Showed me safety binders that looked fresh off a printer. But something was off. Too polished. Too rehearsed. Then I met Ramona. She worked logistics. Sharp eyes, sharp tongue. Older woman who'd clearly seen more than she let on. You his replacement, she asked while loading invoices onto a digital scanner. No, I said. Just passing through. Well, maybe don't pass too fast, she muttered. Things been fishy since last year. How so? She leaned closer. We ship 10 trucks a day. But the manifests say 12. Been that way for months. And the ones that don't match? Always leave after dark. That's when I knew. Colley was cooking numbers. Shipping ghost loads. Selling them under the table, probably to small contractors who didn't care where the gravel came from as long as it was cheap. That night, I followed him. Parked my truck across the street, killed the lights, and waited. At 10:37 p.m., 2 trucks rolled out the gate, unmarked, no paperwork, no lights. I tailed the second one, heart thumping so loud I could hear it in my throat. They drove east, 20 minutes outside the city, to an old industrial lot surrounded by woods. No signs. Just floodlights and a dozen men offloading gravel into a pit. It wasn't a second depot. It was a strip mine. Illegal. Hidden. The second truck hadn't even stopped before one of the workers spotted me. My engine. Too loud. I tried to reverse. Too late. Headlights flashed behind me. Then in front. I was boxed in. Someone knocked on my window with a pistol. Out. I stepped out slowly, hands raised. They patted me down. Found the burner phone. The fake ID. The notepad I'd scribbled on during my tour. They knew. One of the men, big, scarred, neck like a tire, shoved me against my truck. Who are you? Freelancer, I lied. They didn't believe me. The guy pulled his fist back and I braced for it. But then a voice cut through the noise. Wait. A man walked forward from the shadows. Dressed in a black windbreaker, face calm. Not Colley. Someone higher. Let him go, the man said. Let's not make this messy. I was shoved back into my truck. But as I sat behind the wheel, shaken, bleeding from the mouth, the man leaned in through the open window. His breath smelled like mint and money. Tell Harold to stay in his lane, he said. Next time, we don't talk first. Then he smiled and walked away. I drove back to the motel shaking. The message was clear. This wasn't about money anymore. It was a war. And I'd just been drafted. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that man's face leaning into my truck window. Calm. Clean. Like he'd already picked out my headstone. I was back in Harold's office by morning, sitting across from him, jaw tight and hands shaking. They boxed me in, I said. Had guys with guns. One of them said, tell Harold to stay in his lane. He didn't flinch. I figured that was coming, Harold said, sipping black coffee from a white mug that probably cost more than my rent. That mine's been on our radar for 6 months. The money's bleeding out faster than I expected. I slammed my fist on the table. You sent me in blind. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't apologize either. I sent you in raw, he said. That's the difference. You survived, didn't you? Barely. He set the cup down. Then you're ready for the next job. I stared at him, stunned. You're serious. He slid another file across the table. Desert Crest Casino, Arizona. One of my newer assets. Opened last year. Already leaking cash and attracting the wrong crowd. I need to know who's bleeding it. And if it ties to the same people. You think this is organized? I asked. He leaned back, hands steepled. I know it is. You just saw the edge. Now I need you to start pulling thread. I hesitated. My ribs still ached. My mind kept replaying the sound of the pistol tapping my window. But then I opened the folder. Inside, names, photos, receipts. One name stood out, Jason Varick, middle manager at the casino. Alleged ties to a shell company based in Reno. Suspicious wire transfers. Late-night cash dumps. Under his picture, Harold had written, don't underestimate. He's a shadow in a 3-piece suit. I landed in Phoenix 2 days later. Dry heat. Wide highways. Buildings that looked like they'd been bleached by the sun and beaten by dust. Desert Crest sat an hour outside the city. Modern, flashy, all glass and neon, dropped in the middle of nowhere like Vegas had lost a piece of itself in the sand. The place buzzed with fake smiles and real tension. I checked in under the name Lance Baylor, handed over a corporate letter saying I was part of the audit team, and watched the manager pretend not to hate every second of it. Varick didn't introduce himself right away. He watched me. From the second-floor balcony. From behind mirror glass. From the reflection of slot machines as I walked the floor. He knew I was there. And he wanted me to know he knew. I started slow. Reviewed financials, interviewed staff. Nothing solid. Until I met Lily. She worked security. Late 20s. Sharp eyes. A scar across her eyebrow like someone once got too close with a bottle. You're not just here for the numbers, she said one night in the security lounge, arms folded across her vest. No, I admitted. I'm looking for something missing. She nodded slowly. Then look in the vault logs. Specifically the third shift logs. The ones we're told not to scan. Why? Because third shift runs a ghost count. I blinked. Explain. Every night between 3 and 4 a.m. chips are transferred between vaults. Unscheduled. No signature. Then, an hour later, they're reconciled. But the numbers never match. Who signs off? Varick, she said. Always him. Never anyone else. That night I stayed late. Pulled badge access logs. She was right, there was movement in the vault when no one was supposed to be there. The footage? Missing due to system error. Too convenient. I tried to leave it alone. I really did. But curiosity doesn't sleep. So I broke in. Used Lily's borrowed access card. Slipped down the service stairs at 3:12 a.m., flashlight covered in duct tape to cut the glare. The vault door was open. Inside were 2 men. One wore casino security black. The other? Varick. In jeans and a t-shirt. Counting chips into unmarked containers. He looked up. We locked eyes. And for one long second, time froze. Then he smiled. Not surprised. Not angry. Just entertained. You shouldn't be here, he said, calm as you please. Neither should you. He shrugged. But I own this hour. Then the guy behind him moved. I didn't see the punch coming, just a blur of fist and pain as I hit the floor, flashlight skidding across the tile. Let him breathe, Varick said. He's not here to steal. He's here to watch. He knelt beside me. You work for Harold? He asked. I didn't answer. I'll take that as a yes. Tell him I said hi. And tell him to stop sending amateurs. Then he stood and walked out. Left me there. Bleeding. Alive. Which somehow felt worse. I didn't go back to my room. I didn't check out. I just walked out of the Desert Crest into the dawn heat with a busted lip, a cracked rib, and the slow realization that I was being used as bait. By the time I hit the highway, my burner phone buzzed. Harold. You're lucky, he said, no hello. Varick doesn't usually let people walk out. I pulled over near a dried-out arroyo and stared at the horizon. You knew he'd spot me. I hope he would. You got close, didn't you? He made me. Good. There was a silence. You're angry. Damn right I am. I've been punched in 2 states for your little war. What the hell am I walking through, Harold? He sighed. You're walking through rot. My rot. Companies I built. Ones I trusted people to run. But they got greedy. And when I tried to cut them out, they banded together. I listened. You've stirred them, he continued. Now they're watching. Yeah, I noticed. One of them nearly rearranged my face. You've proven you're a threat, Harold said. Which means they'll come for you. Oh, swell, I muttered. What now? Now, he said, you go home. I blinked. Excuse me. You've done enough. For now. That was it. He hung up. I flew back to Chicago. My apartment felt smaller. Colder. Like the walls had heard things while I was gone. I barely dropped my bag before I heard it. A knock. Soft. 2 raps. I opened the door. Lily. From the casino. In a gray hoodie, backpack slung tight, eyes hard. I had to disappear, she said. I think they tapped my comms. I barely got out. She stepped in before I could say a word. Pulled a laptop from her bag, opened it on my coffee table. I copied the vault logs, she said. And something else. A folder opened, security_override_beta.exe. You're gonna want to see this. Video. Not from the casino. From a private hangar. Date. Last week. Varric. Kali. And a third man I didn't recognize. All loading duffels onto a private jet. Lily paused the frame. Zoomed in. A crate label. Northrock Consortium. I sat back. Harold owns that name, I said. It's his shell company. For overseas investments. Lily nodded. He's being robbed blind. Or something darker flickered in my brain, he's playing both sides. No. Couldn't be. I shook the thought. What's in the duffels? I asked. She hesitated. Cash. Chips. Probably crypto wallets too. Portable fortune. Cleaned and flown out. Where? She clicked to the flight manifest. Nassau. Of course. No extradition. Friendly banks. Easy shadows. Lily leaned forward. I don't think you're being told everything. She was right. Because 30 minutes later I got another text. Not from Harold. Unknown number. No name. Just. He lied to you. Attached was a photo. Me. Harold. At a diner. 2 weeks ago. Taken from across the street. Then a second photo. Harold. Kali. Same diner. Different date. Same booth. He'd met with both of us. Fed us both lines. Used me to clean house or maybe distract the rest while he tightened the real noose. I stood up fast. Heart pounding. Lily grabbed my arm. What is it? I showed her the photo. She stared. Son of a bitch. That night we drove to a storage unit I kept just outside the city. Emergency gear. Cash. Old IDs. A second laptop. I'd never had a reason to touch it until now. We spread everything out. Connections. Names. Dotted lines on a wall like we were building a murder board. At the center? Harold. Always Harold. Either he was the puppet master, or someone had a gun to his back. But we wouldn't find out sitting still. So we made a plan. One more stop. The final piece. The man in the second photo. The third player in the game. No name. No ID. Just a face. And tomorrow we'd find out who it belonged to. Lily found him. She ran his face through an encrypted image matching tool she borrowed from her former employer, Don't Ask, and 10 minutes later we had a name. Calvin Dresner. Ex-military. Private contractor. Now an executive liaison for a global security firm Harold had once tried to acquire but mysteriously dropped at the last second. No online footprint beyond what he wanted you to see. The kind of man who shook hands with ghosts and made wars look like spreadsheets. We also found something else. A document buried inside an old Northrock Consortium export log, a signature. Harold's. Dated 2 weeks after he claimed he sold the company off. Either he forged that, Lily said, or he's been running this whole game longer than you thought. I didn't answer. Didn't want to believe it. But the facts were lining up like bullets in a clip. We needed to confront him. Not with questions. With proof. We drove through the night. Took back roads, swapped cars halfway through Missouri. Every headlight behind us felt like it was getting closer even when it wasn't. We reached Harold's country estate at dawn. Not the sleek downtown office, but the old-world retreat he kept outside Jefferson City. The kind of place with a gate you don't approach unless your soul's clean or your will is signed. I buzzed the intercom. No answer. So I used the override code he once gave me just in case. The gate opened. The house was too quiet. Inside, the fireplace was cold. The kitchen untouched. But in the study, a file sat waiting for me on the desk. My name on the tab. Inside, every move I'd made since we met. Photos, call logs, burner phone GPS traces. I think we've been made, Lily muttered. No, I said. We were always meant to be. Then the front door slammed open. Boots on hardwood. We froze. Calvin walked in. No suit this time. Black fatigues. Pistol in hand. End of the line, he said like it was a bedtime story. Lily moved first, hand to waistband, pulling the compact Glock we hoped we wouldn't need. She fired. Missed. I tackled Calvin. We hit the desk hard, papers flying, lamp shattering. His gun skittered across the room. We rolled, fists and elbows in fury. He was trained. I was desperate. It wasn't enough. He slammed me into the wall. Stars exploded in my vision. But then crack. Lily brought a lamp down on his skull. He staggered. Dropped. Didn't move. We stood there, panting. Shaking. Alive. Barely. In the aftermath, we found Harold's real office hidden behind a bookshelf, of course. Inside safes. Ledgers. A hard drive labeled dirt. Lily cracked it in under 10 minutes. The files? Proof of every bribe, every rigged contract, every ghost company laundering cash through Northrock and its affiliates. But most of all, video footage of Harold, sitting in the very chair I was standing near. I built an empire, he said on screen, and then I watched it get hijacked from the inside. This is my insurance policy. If you're seeing this, it means I either trusted the wrong person or I ran out of time. He looked up, directly into the camera. Eli, if it's you, then I'm sorry. I had to lie to keep you close. My stomach dropped. Everything I gave you was bait. But it was also a test. You passed it. Now finish it. The screen cut out. I sank into his chair. Lily sat across from me. So what now? I stared at the drive. At the files. At the stack of evidence so deep it could bury a city. I looked back at her. Now, I said, we burned the whole damn thing down. We didn't run. We didn't hide. We prepared. The drive Harold left behind was the nuclear option and we had to use it right. Lily set up the drop. 5 encrypted copies. Different cities. Trusted reporters. 1 to the SEC. 1 to Interpol. And 1 to a name Harold had circled in red on a document we found tucked in his safe. Special Agent L. Serrano, Internal Corruption Task Force. Apparently Harold had friends in high places. Or enemies he was grooming into allies. We hit send at exactly 8 a.m. on a Thursday morning. By 8:15, servers were crashing. By 9 o'clock, Desert Crest Casino's entire executive board had resigned. By 10:30, Calvin Dresner's face was plastered across half a dozen financial crime alerts. And by noon I got a call. Not from Harold. From his lawyer. Mr. Mercer, the voice said. My client passed away this morning. The air left my lungs. What? In his sleep. Peaceful, according to the staff. But it wasn't peaceful. Not to me. Because Harold hadn't just died. He'd planned it. Timed it. His last move on the board. Lily and I watched the world shift from a cheap motel off Route 6. The drive had triggered a chain reaction. Multiple arrests. FBI raids. A congressional inquiry. Turns out Northrock Consortium wasn't just laundering money. It was moving influence. Payoffs to city officials. Campaign donations. Real estate deals rigged from coast to coast. Harold had documented everything. Names. Dates. Wire transfers. And at the bottom of it all? A plan. His plan. Not to expose it, but to control it. He'd built the network to wield power from the shadows. But something in him had changed. Maybe age. Maybe guilt. Maybe me. I still don't know. But he chose to burn it down instead. And he used me to light the match. 2 weeks after the fallout, I got a letter. Real paper. Ink. No return address. Inside, a single check. 7 figures. Made out to me. And 1 sentence scribbled on the bottom. Build something better. HG. I stared at it for a long time. Then I burned it. Not out of pride. Out of principle. I didn't want Harold's hush money. I wanted to do this my way. Today, I live in a town no one watches. Small house. Cheap rent. Decent neighbors. But that's not the end. Because Lily and I? We started something. Quietly. We fund whistleblowers. Clean up rotten contracts. Use what we learned to protect people like the ones I used to be. No headlines. No interviews. Just truth. And whenever it gets hard, I remember Harold's voice, calm and steady. You passed the test. Yeah, I did. And now? It's my turn to write the rules.